Welcome to Almost Agreeable.
Almost Agreeable.
With your hosts, Chris Nellison and Ed Harris. Hang around and listen to opinions on sports, movies, music, and whatever else pops in our head.
All right, we are back with another episode of the Almost Agreeable podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris. With me, as always, is Ed, and we are going to conclude our Through the Decades music with the 2010s. I mean, maybe in about 10 years, if we're still doing this, we can do 2020s. Hopefully, it's nice and Gatsby type of music from the 1920s. I'd be down with a revert back to historical.
Dude, yeah, if we could just have the 20s go exactly how it went 100 years ago. We'll have, the roaring 20s. We can have all these glitzy glamour parties, just crippling depression and stock market crash. And just...
If 2020 is any indication, then, we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see.
So I'm going to get this off, right from the bat, from the get. I got to get this off my chest. It's
okay.
I don't fucking listen to new music. So this one's going to be a little...
Is 2010, 2011 new music?
It is to me.
Right after you graduated high school?
Yeah.
New music?
It was to me, okay. Yes.
Yes.
yeah. I had to think about it.
Let's just...
And yes. There's one band that I listen to that I eagerly await their albums from this decade. Or this past decade, because now we're going into the 20s now. So 2010s, there was one band that I was eagerly waiting for their new albums. Now there'd be albums that would come out that I'd be like, yeah, I'll listen to that, and I would. And those include, albums from The Weeknd.
Okay, so who's the one band? Let's just start out with that. Who's the one band that you're relying on? Just I dig their stuff.
It's the Dirty Heads.
The Dirty Heads.
The Dirty Heads, yeah.
So, how about you describe the Dirty Heads for some listeners who might not know
about the Dirty Heads?
About the Dirty Heads.
So, Dirty Heads, they kind of are on that line of rock, ska, reggae, poppy kind of stuff. If you think about, they go on tour with Sublime a lot. So, it's kind of that same genre. If you listen to Pepper, if you listen to Slightly Stupid, or Sublime, then you'll
Revolution,
yeah. Then Dirty Heads are along that line. And I think that I've been to more Dirty Head concerts than I've been to concerts of any other bands combined. So, yeah, that's the extent of my 2010s.
And that's the whole thing.
That's it.
All right.
You're going to go right now. You're going to talk for a little while, and I'll be able to bounce off, because obviously there's music I listen to that came out last decade, but there's nothing I can't talk about influences I had in the 2000s or the 90s or the 80s or the 70s. I can't do that for this decade, but there are songs that I latched onto and artists that I was yeah, that was a tight album and things like that.
Yeah, of course. So me graduating 2011, so kind of the 2010s, it's the rest of the 2010s for me is after high school. Graduating a couple years after you. So kind of in the same boat, listening to music now after high school, in the second phase of your life, when you're really, gaining a lot of your friends.
Right. Not just friends, but friends you're going to be friends with as an adult, moving forward, moving on, yes.
For me, I think after high school, that next step, whatever you do, for us it was, military. Well, that next step after high school, I think that's where you gain your lifelong friends. And it definitely can shape your music tastes. It can definitely not decide, but it definitely guides you with your friendships as well. People bond over music. People bond over movies. That's one of the whole reasons we've started a podcast.
That's one of the reasons we became friends.
Yeah.
But just to kind of, if we're talking about that, then to me, we absolutely did all of that, but think about the music we did bond over.
Yeah.
None of it was from the 2010s decade. I think Metallica brought us together.
It was Metallica. It was, let me just describe how Chris and I actually met. How we became, how I knew I was all right, we're going to be boys. We're pretty cool. We're pretty cool. So we're in the dorms together, and I hear this guy playing Guitar Hero, across, we have a shared bathroom and a shared kitchen. So I'm yeah, okay, this guy is playing Guitar Hero. that was pretty cool. He's pretty good. He's pretty good. I can hear him through the walls. And me, myself, I like to think I'm also pretty good. So I knock on his door. I'm like, hey, is that Guitar Hero you got? Full well knowing which exact one he was playing. And he's like, yeah, man. And I was like, oh, do you care if I, like, come in and, like, play a little bit? And he's like, oh, yeah, for sure. Like, go for it. So I come in and play a song. So, Chris, you go ahead and take over and let the audience know what you were thinking.
Well, let's get this straight, okay? So that's pretty accurate of what happened. And then he comes in and, like, he was very nice, very courteous. But I could tell right away he was trying to big dick me. That he was, like, going to be like, oh, yeah, I play a little bit. He's going to try to come in and, like, show me up, like, how it really should be played. And I didn't get that vibe, but, like, it was definitely in the back of my mind, like, is this dude trying to show me up? And so he comes in, and I'm like, oh, damn, he is really good. And that's kind of how, Then I was like, okay, well, yeah, cool, my turn.
Cool, and then Chris played, and I was like, okay, this guy's pretty good. So both of us were thinking, like, yeah, this fucker coming in, he's pretty good. And then both of us end up thinking, okay, this guy's pretty good.
Yeah. Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Yep.
And then I think very early on, after that, it was like, yo, we got to get a drum set for this. Because I only had the one guitar.
Yeah.
And, Ed went out and got a drum set for the Xbox 360 at the time, online. And then we would just be a little two-man band running around.
Just jamming. So, I mean, that was in 2013. So, the 2010s were young at that point.
They were.
It is definitely hard to, say that, like, it definitely didn't shape our specific friendship just because...
It was Guitar Hero Metallica, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we pointed that
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
So, it definitely... didn't shape our friendship just because it had grown over the years, but music definitely can. It absolutely can.
There was music that brought you over into the room, and it was the music from those games that really started the roots of that friendship to where we are today. And like, how many concerts have we been to together? How many, times have we put playlists together for parties where it's like, this is a banger, this is a banger, we're gonna play this.
And some of these bangers are from the 2010s.
Are they?
I mean, oh, absolutely.
I'm just kidding. Obviously they are.
Okay.
I'm just trying to really drive my point home that I don't give a fuck about this decade of music.
Okay, you can think whatever you want about this artist that I'm about to say, but from about 2010, maybe 2009 to about 2015, he was the shit.
Was it Drake?
Drake.
It was Drake.
Absolutely.
Okay, I do fuck with Drake.
I was gonna say 100% for at least 5 solid years.
Not ashamed. I still bump Drake.
Drake was the guy.
He was, because I think he burst out with that like fucking mixtape he had.
Houston, Atlanta, Vegas, or that was a good song they had.
Yeah, he had it on that. It was that same mixtape. He had like Let's Call It Off.
Yeah, it's So Far Gone.
So Far Gone, that's right.
Yeah, that's the mixtape he came out with. That was like 2009 or something.
Yep.
And I remember that was, in my high school years, and it was just money.
No, that that mixtape dropped like right after I graduated high school, and I remember like being underage, like 19, 20, drinking.
Yeah.
Getting lit to all of the songs on that mixtape.
Yeah.
Like that was like our anthem for my little crew running around. We would bump Drake all the time and fucking... Yeah, it was... That's what I associate that with.
Yeah, and then he broke out with Thank Me Later.
Thank Me Later.
And it was just, that really set him on the scene.
Right, and then I think that a lot of people that didn't watch Degrassi didn't realize that this dude had a thing before he was this rapper.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
And so, Drake straight up owned the scene for about 5 years. Like, I would say from, 2009 to, 14. Those 5 years, owned it.
Right, he was collaborating with a lot of people, too. He had collaborations with Eminem, Kanye,
Lil
Wayne.
Swizz Beatz was doing all of his shit.
Yeah.
He was the man. And, after he did Thank Me Later, he came out with Take Care. Every track on that album, banger.
Yeah.
Every single one is, if you're trying to bump shit, if you're trying to feel real sad in your feeling, you can play Marvin's Room.
Play karaoke.
Yeah. It has something for everything. So Take Care, to me, is his best album.
Yeah.
Best album. Then after that, I think he puts a cap on it with his growth with Nothing Was the Same.
Yeah, because he became so much bigger than music after that. Then when motherfucker went on to host the ESPYs. Like,
Yeah.
clowning on James Harden and fucking all those guys.
He's a corny dude, but he's funny.
He's hilarious.
He's a funny dude.
And he's like the Toronto Raptors #1 fan. Like,
no, it's the Drake curse, dude. Any team he roots for, if he wears your gear, you know you're losing.
but they ended up winning a title that season.
Yeah, I guess a broken clock is right twice a day.
So yeah, Drake at the beginning part of that was yeah. You know, you mentioned it. I listen to a lot of Drake.
Yeah,
I still do. He's on my rotation still.
Yeah,
obviously.
straight up. I mean, Drake has not just bangers, but just good composition, good beat making, just good skills. Like his lyrical skills. I mean, as of late, you can say whatever you want to say, but for those 5 years, they were fantastic. Because like Lil Wayne in the 2000s,
Yeah,
like he owned the scene.
he did.
Same thing.
And then like because he collaborated with Lil Wayne in the beginning and in that first part of this decade, the 2010s decade.
And for me, that was kind of like the handing of the torch right there.
A little bit. I mean, and I don't think. Yeah, I could see that. Maybe not so much of a handing of the torch, or maybe just his stamp of approval. Like, yeah, this guy's legit.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah. So Drake for sure is one of the people that, I mean, you just enjoy. Like a Drake song comes on, you're kind of bopping with it.
I know. I never change. I never change.
And of course, we can't forget about. So he definitely. I've been listening to this guy for. I'm gonna be that hipster guy and be like, yeah, I've been listening to him, since his mixtapes. And then he really blows up, and I mean, becomes a worldwide sensation. You already said it, The Weeknd.
Yes, The Weeknd. That was I remember. I was really waiting for the album. What was the one he came out with? He collaborated with Daft Punk. Starboy.
Yeah.
Starboy. So like I remember when I was waiting for that to come out, I was really stoked on that, and I liked that album a lot. I know people were a little disappointed, but I don't have like a precedent. This goes back to me saying I don't listen to a whole lot of music from this decade.
Yeah.
So like I enjoyed it a lot. There was a couple songs where I was like whatever, but most of the songs on that album I really dug.
They're good songs. So like, and it's different stuff. So I can understand why people were upset because it was such a different change of sound. But that's one of my favorite things
that artists do
as a listener is I like my artists to change, to evolve, to change their actual sound. So what The Weeknd used to sound like in the early 2010s was, I saw a tweet that just put it perfectly. The Weeknd makes music for haunted strip clubs. So if you go back and listen to his 3 mixtapes, Thursday, House of Balloons, and Echoes of Silence, which are all compiled on his album Trilogy, that just sounds like a haunted strip club.
Okay.
Straight up. Listen to...
I wasn't even gonna go back that far.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say you put Starboy next to Behind the Beauty and the what's the album he had?
Beauty Behind the Madness. That was the one.
Yeah.
So that's the one that really put him on the scene. But like, if you go back and listen to Heaven or Las Vegas, you'd be like, oh, okay, like this is some haunted shit. This is some haunted. Like I feel like I should have ghost ass in my face.
Yeah. Are you on Twitter right now?
No, I should be though. But yeah, so I mean The Weeknd, and I mean he's blown up. So I mean, speaking of current events, he 100% just got snubbed.
That's why I don't fucking watch the Grammys anymore.
Right?
Dude. Like,
I don't remember the last time I
put any stake in what they fucking nominate and what they give awards to.
It's bullshit. I don't even know who won. I just know he didn't and should have.
Yeah. Well, it's like award shows are so, I don't know. These days there's so many more mediums to watch and listen to everything that's out there. So it's like, how are these people that are giving out awards like not listening to this stuff like we are?
Yeah.
The consumer. I don't know. Yeah, so fuck all that. Fuck the Grammys.
Fuck all that. Fuck the Grammys.
Fuck the Grammys specifically because for me, being this is kind of an aside, being a Laker fan, they have the Grammys at Staples Center every year.
Yeah.
So like, there's always like a block out of like 7 days where the Lakers go on a road trip, and I hate it. It's always called the Grammy trip because they have to leave for the Grammys.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So fuck the Grammys.
Making Lakers play road games.
Yeah,
some
fucking
BS.
assholes.
But I mean, we do have some other artists that pop up and they didn't end up just being, one-hit wonders or just a flash in the pan type deal. I mean, we have some, and whether you like these artists or not, they became prolific and they're still around today. I mean, artists like Katy Perry, for
Katy
sure.
Perry. Oh, yeah.
And she started kind of at the end of 2000s.
Right,
But,
I guess the girl came out like end of 2000s.
End of 2000s, for sure. But Katy Perry definitely burst on the scene with that, but continued to make a lot of music.
Right.
And, I mean, you have other female artists like Taylor Swift. She absolutely...
Lady Gaga.
Dude, I love Taylor Swift, and I also love Lady Gaga.
I love Lady Gaga.
We absolutely have already talked about and put My Bitches playlist in the link for the episode, but I honestly can't talk about Lady Gaga enough. So, when she came on the scene, she had the fame and the fame monster and everything. She was that weird girl.
She was weird. That was part of her thing.
That's part of her thing, absolutely.
But it's not so much anymore.
No, she is definitely transcended. So I kind of have not a timeline, but a transition.
I think for me, the turning point for Lady Gaga when it was, because I still loved her when she had this image, but then she sang a song from The Sound of Music at the Oscars.
So let me back up a little bit, because I kind of have a progression of Lady Gaga's career that kind of puts her, she keeps taking steps forward. So I don't know if you know this, but she started out doing a Led Zeppelin cover band.
Did not know that.
And like you can go on YouTube and like listen to her singing Black Dog and like killing it. Like, it's nuts.
Can we do that after this?
Yes. Absolutely. Like, it's crazy, because it sounds great. It sounds great. And then she cultivated this image, like you said, of just being that weird girl. Like, I don't know if it was the Grammys or what it was, but she came out in, like, a meat suit.
Yes.
She had a whole weird thing going on. You're like, this girl is, like, kind of strange. Like, I don't really know what's going on.
Right, and then she had, like, the Super Bowl, where she, like, jumped from the top.
Where she just fucking skydives down, and then she kind of changes it up a little bit, but it was never drastic changes. It just always was, okay, this is a step in a different direction. So then she does an album with the famed Tony Bennett.
Right.
So she does a full album with Tony Bennett, and it's a lot more of that classy stuff.
Right, kind of what she did with in the Oscars that year when she sang.
Exactly.
Because then I'll never forget, when she came out, she looked normal.
Yeah.
She was dressed in a beautiful gown. She looked good. And she started singing, and I had no idea she had these pipes. Right? And I think not even just for me, like, it opened the eyes of the general public as to what she was.
Yeah.
A very talented artist with an amazing voice and, a mind for music. Because then she goes on, like you said, to do the Tony Bennett album, and then to be an actress and, like, be nominated for Oscars for a movie that's about music.
Yeah.
So, like, her career, we got to watch the transitions. Like you said, they weren't drastic, they were gradual, in this entire decade that we're talking about now. So, like, yeah, Lady Gaga, I think, maybe, like, one of the most influential artists of this decade we're talking about.
Her progression is insane. Like, The Sound of Music, like, the song that she sang, she actually changed, like, her pitch, the way that she sings, to actually do it in the original key.
Right.
So, like, she had to do a lot. She's a very talented artist. And then, she starts out as this Led Zeppelin cover band, then is this weird girl doing these, poppy like club songs, and then does an album with Tony Bennett, and then sings at the Oscars, and then literally wins an Oscar.
Yep.
For
Best Original Song, something like that.
What is that movie called? God damn it.
God, it was a fucked up movie.
It was a fucked up movie.
It was with Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'm an idiot.
What the fuck was it called?
I'm an idiot.
We're fucking stupid. It's A Star Is Born.
Yeah, oh my god. Holy hell, how could I not think of that?
I don't know.
Okay, so yeah, that song Shallow in A Star Is Born was just super sad. Go see it if you have not. But just a super good movie, and that song wins an Oscar.
Yep.
So like she has, in 10 years, gone from not nothing, but gone from, doing her own thing to now winning an Oscar.
Right, and it just goes to show you her diversity.
Yeah, that's a perfect word for it.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people like that, that nowadays you can kind of see. She's a great example of, like, what it means to be talented.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about, some of these women who came on the scene, Katy Perry, Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga. There's some guys who came on the scene as well that, like, whether you like it or not, they were the hotness for a bit. So I'm going to start out with the hot one.
Uh-huh.
Bieber.
Bieber
Fever.
Can we just skip him and go to Bruno
Bieber's
Mars?
Fever.
I don't want it.
There was nothing like it. Not that there was nothing like it, but there hasn't been anything like it in a bit. he was a heartthrob, and it was just like, okay, yeah, everybody looks down at boy bands if you're
he was
not a
like
teenage
young
girl.
as shit.
He was super young.
And he had these grown-ass women, like...
being real weird.
Being real Padme Anakin type of deal.
Yeah.
Like episode 1 type of shit.
Yeah. But, so I for sure looked down on him, like, yeah, this is just boy, like, poppy, whatever stuff. And then he came out with one of these albums that he had bangers on. And I'm going to admit, he had some fucking bangers. He came out and I was like, oh shit, Justin Bieber's like a dude.
I'm glad you can admit.
Like a dude.
I'm glad you can admit that he had bangers, because I'm maybe not even that ashamed to admit, like, I don't think I've ever listened to a Justin Bieber song in its entirety. So that's not to say, like, I haven't heard it, like, on the radio and, like, skip the channel, or...
Oh, yeah.
There's no Justin Bieber on any of my rotations. I don't listen to the radio, so... Like, I don't think I've ever listened to a Justin Bieber song in its entirety.
Okay. Which is not uncommon. It's just, I mean, he has this huge following, and then it kind of trailed off, but like not in a, quick fashion.
Right.
It was just he changed his sound a little bit.
Yeah. And I'm not being a hater. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm not being a hater. I am who I am.
Yeah. But then we also had another guy who is just, he's a poetic genius, Kendrick Lamar.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, and he's been around for a hot minute.
He has been around.
But like, Good Kid, Mad City,
Swimming pools,
yeah, was that I think that was what put him like nationwide
over the top.
Yeah. But I mean, the things, some of the tracks that he has had have been pivotal, like, for the black community.
Oh, yes.
For sure.
Well, because then you talk about, if you're going to go down that path with pivotal black community, you got to also talk about Childish.
And I was going to get to that for sure.
Okay.
Because, I would say Drake, was the early 2010s. Childish Gambino, definitely the last 5 years, he has been sporadically releasing music, but he's been doing it the exact way I love. I love my artists to change. So if you go onto Childish Gambino's, Spotify, his top 5 songs on Spotify are all from different albums.
Yeah, no, just success. And he's another one of those people, along with Lady Gaga, where you get to see how diverse he is. Because, like, you think about some of the songs that he sings, and I could think... Like you said, he evolves. So you can have him in, like, the same thing as, like, okay, yeah, that sounds a little bit like it could be, like, on the same type of flow as Ed Sheeran. And then you listen to, I don't know, a song from a different album, and you're like, this is the same guy?
This is
and
completely
then you're watching,
different.
Then you're watching Solo, a Star Wars story, you're like, that's him?
Yeah.
Just diverse.
Yeah.
Very diverse.
Lando Calrissian has got bars.
He's got bars.
For sure.
Because then he came out with, and obviously, like, I don't want to get too political, but systemic racism, been a thing for a long time, really highlighted in 2020. He comes out with, what's that song he came out with? This is America.
This is America. This is in 2018.
Before all that stuff,
yeah.
It gets highlighted. So it's just like, you really have to bring that kind of stuff into a conversation like this when there are social things happening and artists are, like, playing with it, becomes a part of how big that influence really is.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
So, like, Childish Gambino, along with Kendrick, big parts of that cog in the social, effect of music in this day and age. And I think that's the biggest thing for me with 2010s is a lot of the music in the way that the country and maybe just the world in general is evolving with technology and everything we see, everything now, we hear everything, and these artists are able to have more of an effect culturally than I think they have in the past couple decades, as far as being able to move people and substantiate actual fucking change
and just share a message.
Yeah,
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
God, I love Childish.
I do. Childish he is 100%. So my tastes have changed over the years. For a long time, Metallica is still my favorite band. I'll say that Metallica absolutely is my favorite band. But also for a long time, John Mayer was my favorite artist. So I'm not bringing John Mayer into this conversation or in the 2000s just because I don't know. He is, to me, the best guitar player
Of our generation?
of our generation. Absolutely. I definitely believe that. The guy has licks like nobody's business. But he's just... And he did it exactly how I enjoy as well. He went from more of like a bluesy type feel to a little bit of rock, and then into kind of some folksy stuff.
Right.
So it's definitely, he has changed his sound, and I enjoy his guitar playing a lot, but most of the songs that he's known for, still a lot of people, if you listen to a song from here, you listen to a song, 8-10 years later, you might think it's the same thing. If you're not honestly
a real fan.
Not a real fan, just a constant John Mayer fan.
Right. Well, I guess because we've been talking about rap a lot and some pop with Lady Gaga and Katy Perry, but we haven't talked about any rock. You brought up folk, and we can talk about folk for a second because this is a decade where Mumford and Sons is very big.
Yeah.
And that's a folky music that's not something that is mainstream in the 2000s and maybe in the 90s a little bit, but nothing that's on our radar really.
It is popped back with just a lot of different sounds. Like Zac Brown Band, they're kind of folky, kind of country, but that folky sound has worked its way into a lot of different just music, like musical artists.
Right.
Like you said, Mumford and Sons. I would also say Florence and the Machine. That could be a little folky sometimes. And the Lumineers.
The Lumineers.
It's just that sound has worked its in, and it really is just like sitting music.
It's just kind of chilling. It's what you hear in coffee shops and
it's something you feel like you would love to play on vinyl. That's the sound that I always feel is like that would sound great on vinyl.
Okay, I can roll with that. But like I was saying a second ago, it's just like, I mean, what rock do we have in the 2010s that is like, I don't know, predominant?
Prominent? I mean, I can't really think of...
Imagine Dragons, maybe? Because they're big. They're big in 2010s.
Absolutely. So I guess I could... Yeah, I guess I would have to say Imagine Dragons.
Is that rock? I don't know what that is.
Kinda. And this is where, as we've been going on, all these different genres kind of meld together.
Because then you get, Old Town Road, which is, country fucking rap.
Yeah.
It's like it became a decade where shit got fused.
It wasn't like a crossover was a hit. It was just a commonality.
The way things are.
It was a commonality.
Because then that Starboy with The Weeknd is a collaboration with Daft Punk, techno.
Yeah.
So just a lot of that going on, but not so much as it was in the 2000s, like you said. It wasn't like crossovers. It was, this is what we're putting out now. This is the norm.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing.
So, I mean, there is definitely... bands that we are leaving off. Definitely in the 2000s and 2010s, we didn't talk about Avenged Sevenfold. We didn't talk about Killswitch Engage. But I think those are some bands that do merit some mentioning.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, even... I'm not a huge fan of them, but, Five Finger Death Punch, they've had a lot of songs, a lot of popular songs in the 2010s. Not for me, but those are really the only, rock... that
this
I can
wasn't
think
a lot, no.
It's not quite a dying genre. It's just more selective.
It's survived by what we've had already.
Yeah.
This is why I haven't fucking progressed with music. It's because I still listen to music from the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, and even the 60s. And I'm okay with that because there's so fucking much. I discover new songs by bands from the 70s all the time.
I'm just gonna Google 2010s rock bands because there's got to be somebody that we missed. Absolutely. All of these are old ones. What the hell is this? So I have I literally searched 2010s rock bands. This has the Foo Fighters.
And I see
the Arctic Monkeys. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Weezer. Mostly no.
The fucking Black Keys.
Okay, Vampire Weekend, the Black Keys, Tame Impala. I could see that a little bit.
I love Tame Impala.
I love Tame Impala. 21 Pilots. Okay.
Okay, 21 Pilots.
I wouldn't say they're rock though.
I don't think there is in the true sense of the word. I don't see it.
It is. Yeah. I don't know. There's definitely not a rock band that I could say that really dominated the 2010s.
No. Nope. And I'm not gonna say it's sad. It's just
It's
the
just
way it's going.
Yeah, it's just the way it is.
Survived by like I said, survived by what we already had.
Yeah.
And like legacies, because Metallica still makes music.
Yeah,
Rolling Stones still make music.
Yeah, I'm not gonna put Metallica. Yeah, they're a good 2010s band. No.
Well, I mean, this decade, like I said, I think not so much about like artists in this decade, more so about the music that was made and the messages, because that's what this decade was about. There was anthems for different movements for everything that was happening in this decade. A lot happened in this decade. I got some hot routes for you. We've clearly established that rock wasn't a very predominant genre in this decade. I think based on what we talked about, rap would be, right?
I would say rap and just overall pop.
Okay,
Pop.
so
I would say pop.
Yeah, one of my hot routes was going to ask what would be the genre, but since like we kind of did that during the episode, I guess in a few words, like tell me why like those were the biggest deal in this decade. Like why was rap and pop the predominant thing that people were listening to this decade?
So I think in the 80s and 90s, rap. So I think in the 80s, rap was more of not a gimmick, but just not as big. And then in the 90s, it became a way to tell your story. And then in the 2000s, it became a little bit more...
Partying.
A little, yeah. It definitely became a little bit more like, let's pop bottles.
Yeah.
And then in the 2010s, like we've been saying, it developed a message. It became a message. It had a heart, and it was poetry. Really, it's poetry. That's what it is at its core for rap, anyways. So I think that, and especially because of the widespread platforms that we have now, like Spotify, YouTube, we have all these different things. You can reach so many more people.
Yep.
And people just identify with this music so much easier.
Yep. Okay, I like that. Okay, how about number 2? You have to eliminate one of these artists from this decade.
Oh, jeez.
The Weeknd, Kendrick Lamar, or Childish Gambino.
The Weeknd.
That was quick!
Immediately. Okay, so who do I listen to?
Well, you know what? Originally that was going to say Chance. Because we didn't talk about Chance at all.
We didn't need to because he had a good mixtape and a good album.
Okay.
So this is our Chance talk. He had a good mixtape. So he had 10 Day, and then he had Acid Rap. Acid Rap might be my favorite mixtape of all time.
All right. So why The Weeknd?
The Weeknd is, out of those three, the one I listen to the second most. And that's why. Because I listen to Childish Gambino the most, but then I listen to Kendrick whenever I want to, I am, feeling a message or, really feeling something. Feeling emotional, in every sense of the word. But The Weeknd is kind of in the middle of both of those. So it doesn't have the extremes of either of them. So that's why I would...
He's more generic.
No, okay. I'm changing it.
Okay.
I'm changing it. It is definitely Kendrick.
Okay.
Definitely Kendrick because of the early 2010s The Weeknd. The 3 mixtapes that he had. I love all of his studio albums, but those 3 mixtapes in the beginning, Thursday, House of Balloons, Echoes of Silence, absolutely changed me. Mm-hmm. They're just great pieces of art.
Okay. Wow.
I flipped it real quick.
All right. And the last one is, maybe it might not have to do with 2010s, but it has to do with this year for sure. In a year where we haven't got to do anything, traveling, events, sporting events, gatherings, things like that. Was there any concert this year that you would want to go to that you didn't get to?
Man, I feel like there was a band that I had tickets to that I didn't go see, but I can't remember. But also, I just want to go see a show again. I really just want to go see a show again. Just anyone. The last couple years I've been on a huge, and I am kind of upset that I didn't discover him earlier, but Hozier. So the guy who did the song Take Me to Church, that song, that's his most played song, but his guitar playing abilities and his lyricism, you could look at some of the alliteration that he has done in just some of his songs, and some of the ways that he has put his words together is outstanding. It's just honey to listen to, really. So I think that'd be really fun to go see Hozier live, but definitely it's always Childish Gambino. I would love to go see him live. I've only seen him live once. I had tickets to go to another one, but then deployed, so settle with Childish Gambino. Okay. That's how I settle.
All right. Very good. Like I said, it was a decade where music was kind of on a different level as far as what it was relating to you with, what it was about, how it was played, how it was performed. So, I mean, I look forward to the new decade to see what's in store next. Maybe we get a rock resurgence. I don't know. We'll
yeah, it's hard to say because the 2010s did just end, so it's for sure. I mean, it's still kind of hard to compile the 2000s.
That's
as a decade in itself. So it's definitely hard to compile the 2010s in itself, but we'll definitely see what the 2020s bring.
Right. Well, as always, I'm Chris.
I'm Ed.
And this has been Almost Agreeable. Thank you for listening to another episode of Almost Agreeable. You can catch new episodes every Wednesday and Friday. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, rate, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Almost Agreeable.